So welcome, Laura from Hip Housing,
Thank you.
and welcome everybody to learn about the services that Hip Housing provides. Go ahead,
Great.
Laura.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Tina and Bruce, for extending an opportunity to present during community Zoom Day. It's quite fun. So I'm Laura Fanooki. I'm the Director of Programs at Hip Housing, which is a nonprofit affordable housing organization based in San Mateo County. Next year, we will be celebrating our 50th anniversary of being in the community. So it's quite a milestone for our organization and for the clients and the tenants and our community partners as well. So I have a PowerPoint presentation for you all this afternoon, and then I'd love to be able to answer any questions that you may have. And I'm going to just start off with a short video of one of our home sharing matches between what we call a home provider, who's the person who offers space, and a home seeker. So I'm going to just about a 3-minute video that I think you'll enjoy, and it kind of highlights what kind of work we do. So let me get that up here. Here we go.
The Hip Housing Home Sharing Program provides a unique solution to our housing need in this county. What it does is it allows for an individual who needs an affordable place to live be matched with someone who's looking to share their housing expenses. The home sharing program is so important in our community because it helps individuals stay in our community, and home sharing helps reduce traffic by allowing individuals who live in this county to stay near where they work.
I'd been a homeowner for 20 years and things became increasingly expensive, the market crashed, and it was paycheck to paycheck, and it didn't make sense to keep the house. Luckily, I found Hip Housing.
I've been living in the Bay Area, the peninsula, for over 60 years. When my wife passed away about 3 years ago, it was suggested to look up Hip Housing. And voila, I found Heidi.
Thank goodness for Hip Housing, because when I first talked to Mike, I knew that there was something special. I think the folks at Hip Housing behind the scenes had done some matchmaking based on our interests and sort of lifestyle preferences.
We have a really good camaraderie. We laugh, we don't argue. It's really cool.
My work is super demanding and I love it. I'm a field medical social worker for a local medical group who does urgent care. And so it's super important for me to be kind of in, centralized. So living here in San Bruno enables me to do the field visits that are throughout San Mateo County.
I'm on Social Security disability, have been for several years now, plus part of my wife's pension. She was much smarter at career than I was. And of course, 10 weeks out of the year, I serve as Santa Claus for a local mall management company. I started representing what I call the red suit back in 1978. I've held a baby that was 3 days old, and I've also sat down next to folks who are in complete Alzheimer's and dementia and have no idea.
There's really no way to express the magic of taking a leap and trying it out. I had no idea how wonderful being in a new home could be with someone like Mike, and I do feel that Hip Housing really looked at my lifestyle and interests and really connected me with the right place and the right person, and they followed us along to really help make sure that things are going okay. So it's felt very supportive. So if anyone's having a reservation about trying it out, come see Santa. Absolutely. Come see Santa and his elf.
Okay, so I hope that gave you a little bit of a glimpse of what a home sharing match looks like through HIP Housing's home sharing program. So I'm going to share my screen again. And here we go. Okay. Okay, so our agency's name is HIP Housing. Many people ask what that stands for, and it stands for Human Investment Project. And our mission is to invest in human potential by improving the housing and lives of people here in our community in San Mateo County. And we do that through our information and referral program, our home sharing program, which I'm going to be speaking about this afternoon. But we also have a self-sufficiency program for families with children. And we also own and manage property throughout San Mateo County, including 3 senior housing properties, one in San Mateo called Edgewater Isle, which is a 92-unit senior housing complex. And then we also manage the 2 Rotary properties through the Rotary Club of San Mateo called Rotary Floridas and Rotary Hacienda, which are located in San Mateo near Hillsdale Mall. So we have many properties, 19 properties in total throughout San Mateo County. So just a little bit of information about our housing challenges here in San Mateo County. About 75% of the land here in San Mateo County is designated as open space. And so there's limited land in order to construct new housing and new affordable housing in our community. We also have some of the highest rents in the nation, with often 1-bedroom apartments going for well over $2,000 a month, close to almost $3,000 a month. And the job growth here in our community has, the housing has not kept up with the job growth that's happened here in San Mateo County. And as you may be aware, there's very long waiting lists for affordable housing. Sometimes the waiting lists are closed and sometimes they're extremely lengthy. And especially for those, especially seniors who are needing to find an affordable housing arrangement fairly quickly, it can be very challenging to get onto waiting lists in order to find affordable housing. This just gives an example of some of the clients that we see in our home sharing program and their hourly rates and their professions and how much they earn in a year and what income categories they fall into. They say that your housing costs are, you should spend no more than 30% of your income on housing costs to keep them affordable. And you can see that in our community, for people that work as clerks in grocery stores, in order for them to afford a 1-bedroom apartment based on like a $2,000 a month rent, they're spending well over 80% of their income on housing. And so the only opportunity oftentimes for individuals who are on limited income is to consider home sharing as an option to find something affordable in their county close to their place of work. So where HIP Housing falls into the housing continuum is, we see many clients who might start in sort of the shelter community. So Life Moves is one of the largest providers of shelter here in Mateo County. And then transitioning to HIP Housing's programs, either through our home sharing program or through the properties that we own and manage. And then there's larger nonprofit affordable developers like Mid-Peninsula Housing or Bridge Housing or Mercy Housing. And then the ultimate goal for many clients is to network with Habitat for Humanity to possibly own their own units. And we see that a lot in our self-sufficiency program for families with children, that some of our participants have been able to become homeowners through that program. So home sharing, a lot of people are, have a perception of what home sharing is. And, many people think about their college days, going back to sharing a dorm room with an individual in the college days. Sometimes what the media thinks home sharing is all about goes back to the Golden Girls. So we get a lot of media requests asking like, where are those Golden Girl matches? We want to interview some of those women that are home sharing like that. Sometimes people don't have the greatest opinion of home sharing. They think that there's going to be a lot of challenges, how to select a tenant. What if it doesn't work out? What if I have to evict somebody? But we always know here at HIP Housing that if with the right tools and resources and the right support, home sharing can be a wonderful arrangement, just like with Heidi and Mike. They have become very close friends, and they are, a very good support system for each other. And it just allows them both, to remain in the community here in San Mateo County. So home sharing is an opportunity where we have a home provider who either is a homeowner or they might also be a renter. Mike was a renter, and he had extra space available in his home, and he was looking for somebody, to move in with him to share housing costs. Now, we also have homeowners who have accessory dwelling units, otherwise known as ADUs, which are separate usually from the property, and are given the client an opportunity to live a little bit more independently in a smaller space, but on a shared property. So that's another opportunity that we have in our program. So all of our home providers have to live in San Mateo County, and our home seekers have to live, work, or attend school in San Mateo County, or have some type of housing voucher that helps to support their rent. So San Mateo County has a moving to work housing voucher program for low-income individuals in our community that helps to subsidize their rent for up to 5 years. Most of our home seekers are family size of 1 or 2 persons. We get funding from the cities here in San Mateo County and also the county itself. And as you can see with Mike and Heidi's video, the benefits of home sharing are numerous in terms of creating affordable housing by using existing housing stock here in the county. And it gives individuals the opportunity to live close to their social networks, and more importantly, to their healthcare community, and also to their places of work. HIP Housing's program is nationally recognized. We're part of the National Shared Housing Resource Center, which provides technical assistance to other nonprofits that are interested in starting programs of their own. And that's a little bit of the work that we do, providing some technical assistance to organizations here in California and on the West Coast to launch programs of their own. So our process right now is that we're doing all of our interviews virtually. Normally pre-pandemic, we would interview clients in our San Mateo office or at Fair Oaks Community Center, the Daly City Community Center, and then also at Magnolia Senior Center in South San Francisco. But right now we're doing everything virtually. So we have our staff set up to meet with clients via Zoom. We interview all of our home providers and all of our home seekers and have the same screening process in terms of doing a background search, asking for references. We ask for income verification from our home seekers. And it just is a comprehensive interview and application process that each applicant goes through in order to participate in our program. After a client is interviewed for our program, we have them meet each other. So as Heidi mentioned, like she had some criteria that she was looking for, like a house in the North County and in a certain amount of rent. She was looking for like a non-smoker housemate, and she wanted to bring her furniture. So we kind of look at those criteria as a starting point to help generate some referrals for clients who then they get to interview on their own and make their own decision about who they want to share with. A lot of times people wonder, like, what's the difference between using Craigslist or going through your organization. And the difference is really that we're providing a lot of tools and resources on how clients can interview each other, how they can check references of each other, and how they can make their own decision about who they want to have as a housemate or a tenant in their accessory dwelling unit. We also follow up with providing a lot of community resources to our clients. Information and referral is a big part of what we do. So if we hear from a client that might need help with shelter or rental assistance or deposit assistance, we do a lot of resource sharing with all of our clients. And we also help them with an agreement. So we have a meeting called our Living Together Agreement meeting, and we meet with the applicants involved and help to formulate a plan for their living together arrangement that not only details what their sharing aspect is all about, but then also what the financial aspect is all about. And we don't leave our clients hanging. We do a lot of follow-up support. And if there's any kind of issue or concern that happens, we might do some mediation and then help to brainstorm with clients to see how we can improve the living together arrangement, or if they need to move on from there, then we help them with that as well. So just a little demographics about our home sharing program. 68% of our home providers who we matched in the program are seniors. A huge percentage of them are single females. Their average income in the $50,000 price range. On average, the room rental rates were around a little over $1,000 a month. So compared to an individual unit here in the county, it's significantly lower. And prior to having a housemate move in, our home providers were spending over 40% of their income on their housing costs, which would be considered unaffordable because it is more than 30% of their income. Our home seekers, 23% are older adults, still a high demographic of single female, average income less than $50,000. And 56% of our home seekers were either at risk of being homeless or were homeless coming from shelter or living from friend to friend or family to family. So it's a big percentage there. And by home sharing, they were able to keep their housing costs at 29% of their income, which is considered affordable. So a lot of our seniors have shared their stories with us about why they are looking for housing. Some of the trends that we've been seeing recently is that we have long-time home sharing matches that are involving older adults, and the home provider is either selling their property and moving out of the area, or they're needing more care in the home. And so our older adults who are seeking housing are suddenly plunged into this housing market that makes it very challenging for them to find housing. They're also, I think, actually more comfortable being in their vehicle than going into a shelter. So, we try to connect our clients to other resources that might be able to assist them. We're seeing a lot of clients who are also staying in motels, and it's very astronomically expensive for them to be able to afford those housing costs. We just matched 2 older adults who lost their housing, staying in motels, and we were able to get them into a new housing arrangement to help get them out of that expensive motel staying. And then in terms of, our home providers, many of them are just really, fighting tooth and nail to stay in their home, to be able to remain independent in their home, to have a housemate move in to decrease their isolation, which is really important in our older adults, especially during the pandemic, with being sheltering in place and being more disconnected from community. Having a housemate move in has really helped in that aspect of reducing their isolation. We already went through a little bit of the benefits of the home sharing. One of the obviously, I think for us, we hear from our home providers that really the #1 reason why they want to home share is to really just reduce their housing costs, reduce their financial impacts, and then, you know, as I mentioned, reducing their isolation and allowing them to age in place. We recently had 2 of our home sharing providers, longtime home sharing providers, one who had been home sharing for well over 25 years, and she recently passed away in her 90s. And you know, having the housemates live with her really helped her to just, you know, stay engaged with her housemates, and just having a lot of activity in the home just really helped to promote her health and well-being, and allowed her to remain, you know, independent in her home. So we see our clients as both the home provider and the home seeker, and we try to promote the concept that really one spare room in somebody's home can help change 2 lives, both the home provider and the home seeker. We have an incentive program for our home providers. We do have some funding from the County of San Mateo to incentivize people who have a room for rent in the county or an accessory dwelling unit. We are able to provide a $250 incentive to an individual who is offering space in their home and matches with one of our program participants. We also have another $250 incentive for home providers who charge $1,000 or less for their room. And then we're getting some funding for a new incentive, which is an incentive for home providers who refer another home provider to our program. So it's just a way to increase everybody's interest in the program, because we generally have more people seeking housing than providing. And so this is just another way to encourage people to put that empty room really to good use. This is how we used to do our outreach back in the day. We had a van that we took out, and just the logo, just ask HIP. We used to take this around to local senior centers and community centers and meet with folks that way, and encourage them to apply to our program and utilize the services. And today, this is what our outreach and marketing looks like right now. You may have seen some Samtrans bus ads that are making their way throughout San Mateo County. So they are up and running during the month of September. I saw a few yesterday down here in San Mateo. So these are just some of the actual marketing and outreach activities that we do to raise awareness about the program. So many people don't know even that we exist or that there's a program like this, and it may not be for everybody, but there may be somebody that you know who might be in need of housing or has housing they want to share. We also do a lot of social media campaigning. So we post on nextdoor.com and the neighborhood websites. And also the county has a website called SMC Housing Search. And this gives people the opportunity to post their vacant, their available units on SMC Housing Search, but we also post our available rooms for rent on this website. And so it gives us some more exposure on the county level about the benefits of our program. Early on in the presentation, I mentioned the National Shared Housing Resource Center. We are very instrumental in this center to provide a list and a website of many of the shared housing programs throughout the country. We also provide technical assistance to organizations that want to launch programs in their community. There's a lot of interest in California. We actually have the most nonprofit home sharing programs in the US. Right now, we're up to about 23 programs in Northern and in Southern California, with a few more emerging on the Central Coast. So it's really exciting. There's a lot of interest from cities that know that they're not going to be able to build their way out of their housing challenges. And we hear the same housing challenges that are happening here that might be happening in Chicago and New York and all throughout the country having challenges with their housing, and home sharing just makes a lot of sense, and it's very cost effective to operate a program, as well as the rents are very cost effective as well. And here are some of the programs here in Northern California. The largest, well, HIP Housing has probably one of the largest programs out of all of these, but the home match programs through a nonprofit called Front Porch, we help to provide technical assistance to, and they now have programs in Marin, in San Francisco, Contra Costa, Fremont, and most recently in Monterey. So all of our programs essentially operate the same in terms of like the interviewing and the screening, the matching, the living together agreement, and the follow-up support. So these are some of the resources there. And here is our home sharing staff. So we have 4 full-time home sharing coordinators that cover the North, the Mid, the South, and the Coast Side community. We have a program manager, an outreach coordinator, and a full-time program assistant. So this is our Zoom photo. We're all working remotely, and now we're starting to rotate into the office and getting back to some sense of normalcy. This is my contact information. If you know of anybody who is interested in home sharing, or if you have questions that you would like to ask after today's presentation, please feel free to reach out to us. And I can be reached here at 348-6660, and my email address is there. And I just want to say thank you again for the opportunity to present. And I'm happy to answer some questions here in the chat. Let's see here. Yvonne is asking, what is the income verification? So for our home seekers, we ask them to provide proof of their income. So usually a paycheck stub or some documentation of their income. It's mostly to allow us to report to our funders on how many clients we're seeing in a particular income level, but it also helps us to ascertain like how much the individual is earning and how much they have been spending on their housing costs and how much they feel that they can contribute to a new housing cost through the home sharing program. So that's what's meant by the income verification. And it could be, again, like a pay stub, it could be a bank statement that shows any kind of direct deposit, or any kind of award letter, like a Social Security letter, or any kind of documentation for income. Are there some other questions?
I'm just curious, the seekers, do the seekers share for example, the kitchen and the bathrooms, and is that how that works? Or are we talking about an individual studio, independent sort of thing?
So for people that are offering a room for rent in their home, yes, we do expect them to provide, kitchen facilities, so sharing of the kitchen space. They may have a room that has its own bathroom, so we code that information in our database so that when we're looking for a housemate for them, we will be able to search for home seekers who say, I want to have kitchen access, I want to have my own bathroom, or some of those criteria. But definitely in a home sharing arrangement, we do really like to see the home provider be able to open up their home, to their individual and share common space. In an individual unit, like an accessory dwelling unit, most everything is independent. So the individual most typically would have their own bathroom, their own kitchen facilities, a separate entrance, and just more private space than a home sharing arrangement. Although the majority of the housing opportunities that we have in our program are rooms for rent versus the ADUs, although there are been quite a few more people registering for the program that have an accessory dwelling unit. So it's good news.
Laura, do you also help the renter or the person that's renting out the room with pricing the room?
Yeah, we do get a lot of questions about like what's the
fair rent?
sort of
Yeah.
fair rent, for the room. And so we kind of keep tabs on some of the postings that we see online and kind of do like an average of what we're seeing, and then just historically what kinds of rent ranges that we've seen in our program. For us, the lower rents are generally up in the North County, like South City and Daly City, and in Pacifica. Those are usually where we see the lower rents. And then so we do help the home provider to establish what they're thinking about, and that if they happen to start at a rent range and they're not getting leads, then we have a conversation with them about, well, we have a few folks in this price range, let me tell you about them, and then let them decide if they're interested to come down. We just had a home provider in Pacifica who was charging, I think it was going to be $1,000 for a bedroom for rent. And she met a participant through our program who works for a local nonprofit, and she actually liked him so much that she reduced the rent. And so now he's going to be moving in and working closer to closer to his place of business. So that was kind of exciting.
Cool, great, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments? You can feel free to put them in the chat, or has anybody done home sharing? How about that?
No.
No.
I rent Airbnb before.
Okay. That's good.
I have a question. Hi.
Yeah.
Does rent laws apply to home sharing agreements?
I'm sorry, does what?
Rental laws.
So in home sharing, because it's a private space and you're sharing common space, we do, see that clients are able to select a housemate based on what they're interested in, who they're interested in living with. But in terms of like notice, giving written notice and notifications and all that, we have those rental laws that apply in home sharing aspect as well. So we talk to clients about, like, if for some reason the situation doesn't work out, or they have a change in their housing status as well, the home provider needs to give at least 30 days written notice. Although if the housemate's been there for more than a year, then they need to give a 60-day notice. So in terms of the provisions of like giving notice and all of that, those still do apply in a home sharing arrangement, at least, through our program.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, thank you so much, Laura, for joining us and explain to us this wonderful service that I didn't know about. So,
and we thank the partnership with the Veteran Memorial Senior Center. They've been wonderful partners of our organization, promoting our programs throughout the community. And thank you to Bruce and to all your staff at the senior
long
center.
Time, huh?
Yeah,
Partner for a long time.
I know, it's been terrific, and we congratulate you on your new building.
No, we're getting there soon. Keep your fingers crossed.
Yes. Well, thank you everyone again for attending. I hope you learned a little bit more about what HIP Housing does. Please visit us on hiphousing.org. And thank you so much for your time.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
Thanks a
Bye-bye.
lot. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.